Hello, Watem here, and welcome back to some more Higurashi When They Cry. Um, I suppose I could, because Rika's supposedly the reincarnation of the Shiro-sama. If she were to die, there would probably be some kind of funeral at the very least. But also potentially something about Oyashiro-sama being released from her body, I guess, corpse. I think we have a year, at least. But I also feel like we don't, because of how they killed Mio-san. I might not know, but there might be a bigger religious event than Watanagashi. It might not be long until that day. On the day of Yashiro-sama's revival, we're going to spread a dangerous parasite, and that day might be just around the corner.
レイナ、まだ電話してるのか?
Yeah, right around the corner, like 5 days away.
そろそろ終わりにしなさい。
My father stuck his head out from the living room, telling me I need to hang up soon. I thought about telling him so many times. It's natural to think that your parents will be on your side no matter what. But I know just how weak and can get, so I couldn't tell him. I don't think he'd believe me anyway. Even if I told him, he'd just tell me to call the police. It's better that I don't tell him. They might get close to my father to get me. If he didn't know anything about anything, including the scrapbooks, there'd be nothing to squeeze out of him to begin with.
ごめんね、ケイチ君。今夜はもう遅いから、これで切るね。また明日、学校で。
おう、また明日、学校で。
用心してね。ケイチ君も、もう部外者じゃないんだから。
おう、せいぜい気をつけるぜ。
I remembered the suspicious men in the white van and felt a chill run through my spine. They looked like villagers, but they weren't. They had the village accent, but they were just pretending. The more I thought about it, the more suspicious they became. It let me know that Renna and I aren't safe. If Renna is right, they're not just suspicious of her. They're just suspicious of her, and they're not sure if she has the scrapbooks or not. Isn't there also that other town which is further away? Like you have to get past the damn construction site to get there? Like that's where they held the kidnapped grandson. No. They're even more isolated than Himizawa is. So it would make sense if they have thicker accents and all and wouldn't know Keiichi. But it's still creepy. Rena has probably experienced the same creepiness I felt when I saw the van several times up until now. She must sense the danger more than I do. However, the fact that they weren't attacking, that they were merely observing us, was disturbing. If they attacked her, she could have done something, like going to the police. But all they're doing is just watching her from a distance. She can't do anything about it. She can't talk to anybody about it. She probably just wants to stay in her house all day. But if she acted different, they might take it as proof that she has the scrapbooks. We have to think about how to fight against them, without making it obvious. I told myself there was no going back, and I put the phone down. But yeah, I think I remember the existence of like White Van and all in like there was definitely the others in the first chapter when Keiichi runs away from them and ends up running back into like Renner or Mio or someone. There are others involved in that time. Renner and Mion seem to be involved. I feel like I need to go back and check that again. Next day, Renner came to school, acting normal like she said she would. She talked with Mion as cheerfully as she always did. It made me wonder if the story she told me last night was a complete fabrication. That's because the story really was too ridiculously crazy to believe. This village has a very weird and rare endemic disease, and there are religious fanatics who want to use the disease to revive their weird cult. And they've been researching the pathogen of the endemic disease so they can spread it throughout the village. I was deeply influenced by Rena last night. I believed everything that she said. But thinking about it with a cool mind under the bright sunlight sounds too crazy to be true. The story Rena told me is based on Takano-san's crazy hand-me-down ideas. It's based entirely on her theories, which, though very feasible, have no evidence whatsoever. The fact that Takano-san was murdered lends credit to the story. I'll give you that, but... I looked at Mion. She was fooling around with Rena. It's hard to believe that she's involved with some crazy conspiracy.
っていうか、聞いてないでしょ、ケイちゃん。
悪い。ごめん、聞いてなかった。
まだ寝ぼけたまんまなのかな？寝不足だとおつむもちゃんと働かないよ。
Mion made fun of me for reacting too slowly. It's almost impossible not to trust this bubbly, cheerful girl. I trust Mion. I trust my friends. I know she'd never have a hand in a crazy conspiracy like that. If she knew about it, she wouldn't be able to act this cheerfully. Rena told me not to tell Mion because she might be one of them. But it might be worth telling her without letting Rena know. Of course, there's at least a 1% chance that the conspiracy is true, that Mion is one of them. If so, I'd be doomed. But if I had to choose between believing the crazy conspiracy theory and trusting my friends, my answer would be obvious. I know that my friend Mion isn't a part of any conspiracy. She'd never be involved with something like that. Even if a conspiracy exists, I'm sure Mion will be on our side. So, whether or not it's true, it must be worth telling Mion about it.
なあに、ケイちゃん。こんなところに呼び出して。それも誰にも内緒で来いなんてさ。まさかカツアゲとかそういうのじゃないよね。
お前な、体育倉庫の裏に呼ばれたら真っ先にそう思うのかよ。
じゃあラブレターとか？でもそういうのは下駄箱が定番じゃない？
都会じゃそうでもないぞ。直接渡す白兵線型も少なくない。
え？じゃあ
なわけねえだろ。それよりかなり真面目な話がある。茶化しは一切なしで聞いてくれ。
何よ、どうしたの？
お社様信仰を復活させようとしている連中がいるってのは知ってるか？
は？何、ケイちゃん、何の話？
This, of course, was just my way of getting a feel for the situation. I wanted to see how she was going to react by getting straight to the point. Mion really did look puzzled. People wouldn't normally react like this if somebody pointed out their secrets out of the blue. They always panic, if only just a little. Not necessarily. Even Mion was a brilliant actress, but she really didn't have anything to do with the idea of reviving Shiro-sama. I decided to tell her everything.
ミオン、お前の家の園崎家ってひなみ沢を含めものすごい影響力を持ってるわけだけどさ、お社様信仰を復興するため何か暗躍してるってことはあるか？
復興？ なんで？
いや、だからさ、今のお社様信仰って大昔の時代に比べたらだいぶ信仰心が薄くなってるだろ。それをさ、大昔の鬼ヶ淵村のレベルまで引き戻したいと思っている、いわゆる原理主義者的な連中が暗躍をしてるんじゃないかって。
はい？ちょっと何よそれ。何の話なわけ？
本当に何の話かわからないのか？
わかるわけないよ。何その全米第1位みたいな面白ストーリーはさ。
Mion's reaction was very natural. It seemed impossible, like that she was pretending she didn't know about anything about it. But regardless, I continued.
いや、だからそういう連中がこの村にいるらしいんだよ。ミオンは知らないか？
お社様信仰を鬼ヶ淵村の時代のレベルに？そんなことして何かいいことあるの？
いや、そりゃ信仰の厚い盲信的な連中にとってはとても重要な意味があるんじゃないかな。
だってケイちゃん、大昔の厳しい戒律の頃に逆戻りって誰も喜ばないよ。今のこの現代、村から出るななんて言われたら生活なんかやってられないって。
例えばほら、リカちゃん。リカちゃんって何でもお社様の生まれ変わりとか言ってちやほやされてるらしいだろ。そういった取り巻きの老人たちの中にはきっと執着的な一派が存在して。
リカちゃんの取り巻きっていうと君吉のおじいちゃんとかのこと？まあ確かに信仰心は厚い方だと思うけど、盲信的ってのはどうかと思うね。
いや、だからいるんだよ。本来のお社様信仰を再び復活させようとしている輩が。
But you're not giving her any reason to believe that.
はいはい。話が進まないからこの場は信じるよ。それで？
そいつらはお社様の正体がこの土地独特の風土病にあることを突き止め、その病原体を研究しているらしいんだ。
どこで？というか風土病って何？病原体って何よ？縁がちょ
I was getting confused. I didn't know what I was talking about myself anymore. I was deeply influenced by Rena last night and believed everything she said. But, having said it all out loud, I started realizing how impossible the story sounded.
どうしたの？ミオさんに妙なことでも吹き込まれたわけ？
知ってるのか？
有名だよ。あの人オカルトマニアだから、いっつもとんでもない空想話をでっち上げてる。たまに真に受ける人がいるとかなりヘビーに吹き込むって有名なんだよ。私も昔話を聞かせてもらったことがあったけど、結構面白かったな。
それって本当か？
ケイちゃんもどこかで耳にしてるだろうけど、この村は大昔はちょっと特殊な文化があった。それは少し刺激の強い要素のある文化でね。厳しい戒律と厳しい刑罰、残酷な風習は割とオカルトマニアの間では知られてるらしい。ミオさんもそんなマニアの中の一人。
じゃあこの村が怪しげな寄生虫に支配されているという話は？
はあ？寄生虫？それミオ
新作ってどういうことだよ？
それミオさんの新作
Why is it not working? There it is.
言ったでしょ。ミオさんはオカルトマニアなの。鬼ヶ淵村の奇怪な伝説などを研究して、あれやこれやの仮説や推理、妄想を楽しんでるわけよ。 だからその寄生虫に村が支配されてるって説以外にもいろいろ捜索してる。私がずいぶん前に聞いたのはUFO 説だったよ。これが結構辻褄が合ってて面白いの。太古の昔に鬼ヶ淵村に UFO が墜落して、そこから出てきた異星人と村人で戦いが起こってという感じから始まる B 級 SF ホラーだった。聡子が聞かされたってのは地底人説だったかな。地殻変動によって地底王国と鬼ヶ淵村の間に接点ができてしまって、それでなんだっけかな。そうそう、地底王国のお姫様と村の若者が恋をして互いに仲直りをしたっていう SF ロミオとジュリエットだった。んで最新作がどうやらケイちゃんの聞かされた寄生虫説ってわけみたいだね。いやいや、いつかそれらを全部まとめて本にしてほしいよ。
Mion began laughing so hard that she had to hold her stomach. As I looked at her laughing like that, I realized I fell for something that ridiculous. At that point, it was obvious. I had been completely taken in.
すまんミオ、俺がこれから聞くことに答えてくれ。まずお社様信仰を復活させようとする連中は実在する？
しないよ。というかむしろ逆。ひなみ沢は外部に対してどんどん開いていって栄えさせていこうということで、御三家はすでに意見を統一してる。これはまだ内緒なんだけど、21世紀までをめどにね、新しい高速道路がここいらを通るという計画があるんだよ。園崎家は現在水面下でその誘致をしててね。うまくいけばここいらは一気に栄えることになる。バッチャはそれによって山林の地価が一気に高騰して大儲けできると踏んでるみたいだよ。まあ21世紀の仕事だから、それは私が引き継ぐ大仕事になりそうだけどね。
じゃあ外部の人間を意味嫌う連中なんてのは存在しない？
だからそんなの存在しないって。
Never underestimate reactionaries.
ただでさえ不便な村をさらに不便にしてどうするんだか。
People don't like change.
現に村は今別荘地として売り出しを開始してる。ケイちゃんの家はまさにその第1号じゃないの。村人はみんな歓迎してくれたでしょ。若者の流出を食い止めるため御三家もいろいろと考えてるんだから。
There was nothing vague about what Mion had said. Her story makes a lot more sense than Takano-san's delusional theories. And so, Mion's words woke me up from that delusion.
じゃああれはどうだよ。寄生虫の感染の証拠を示す血液中のなんとかとかいう数値がひなみ沢の住民だけ異常に高いみたいな話が。
To begin with, that's a third level kind of information. There's no sources. It's just specifically from Takano-san saying it. It's not necessarily an author which you can trust as well.
そうなの？というかミオさんはそんなのどうやって調べたわけ？
だって高野さんは看護師だろ。調べる気になればいくらだって。
そんな怪しげな調査のために誰が血液採取なんかに協力するの？誰もしないって。それに仮に採血をしたってどこでどう調べたわけ？ミオさんがたった一人で一体何人の血を調べられたっていうわけ？
Mion was right. I couldn't believe I thought Takano-san could do all that just because she was a nurse. And here I am thinking that she forged her own records. Well, I suppose possibly easier to forge your own records than convince people to give you their blood. It struck me hard to believe that she got that many blood samples and did a high-level examination like that without any help. When I thought about it rationally, I shouldn't have believed such a ridiculous story so easily.
寄生虫の寄生の証拠として花粉症にかからないって聞いたぞ。
花粉症って都会の病気じゃないの。あれは確か排気ガスと関係があるんでしょ。ここはひなみ沢だよ、ケイちゃん。というか多分沖宮の人にだって花粉症なんてそうそういないと思うけど。
じゃああれは園崎本家当主直属の暗殺部隊ってのがいて、昔大臣の孫の誘拐とかをやったんだろう。
そんなのがいたらかっこいいね。
Although it is at least partially true. Even now it's sounding ridiculous. But I believed all of it last night. I believed it because Rena looked very serious.
大臣の孫が高津戸のあたりで突然発見されたのは事実だけれど、あれは私たちじゃない。私たちじゃないけど、それを私たちはさも自分たちが犯したように振る舞ってた。
わかりにくいぞ。説明してくれ。
うん。ダム戦争の当時、鬼ヶ淵死守同盟は相当に物騒な抵抗運動をしていたのは事実。脅迫めいたこともやってのけた。でもね、あの当時それを利用するやらしい連中もいたらしいの。鬼ヶ淵死守同盟の名を語って金品を要求したりするエセ同盟って連中。
The Onagafuchi Guardians were a very aggressive force at that time. There's a high possibility that some people thought they could use the name to extort money.
その中に大臣の孫の誘拐もあったの。おそらく誘拐犯たちは警察の捜査の撹乱を狙って死守同盟のふりをして身代金を要求したんだと思う。正直あの事件は同盟にとっても驚きだったよ。よく大臣の孫を誘拐できたもんだって話題になったね。犯人たちに会えたら表彰してやろうなんて盛り上がったっけ。
ちょっと待て。じゃあ大臣の孫の誘拐は、鬼ヶ淵死守同盟は何も関係ないのかよ。
うん、全くない。
Mion said it firmly. It was a simple and clear answer, which left no room for suspicion. And thinking about it, it's nothing surprising. Kidnapping the grandson of a minister and negotiating with him in person is a huge deal. The Onagafuchi Guardians were a very aggressive group, but this operation wasn't so easy that it could be carried out by any of the normal residents of Hinamizawa. It was obviously the work of professional criminals, without a doubt.
ただね、さっきも少し言いかけたけど、園崎本家はね、この誘拐事件を自分たちが黒幕であるかのように振る舞っていた。
振る舞ったってのはどういうことだ。
これは園崎本家の秘密の家訓なの。ケイちゃんにはこっそり話すけど、話したことは内緒だよ。園崎本家ではね、自分たちに都合がいい何かの事件が起こった時、あたかもそれが自分たちの差し金であるように振る舞うブラフの伝統があるの。
Even Shion didn't know about it.
ブラフって、はったり？
うん。自分たちに利することがあったなら、それは事件でなくてもいい。お天気でもいいし、宝くじの当選番号でもいい。あたかも園崎本家が望んだからそのような結果になったかのように振る舞うの。そうするとどう？なんだかものすごい黒幕ってイメージになるでしょ。つまりはそういうこと。これは園崎本家の当主だけに代々公伝で伝承される秘密のイメージ戦略なの。自分たちを本来よりもより強大に見せようとするイメージ戦略。
じゃあほら、ダム戦争時に建設省を占拠するって作戦があったんだろ。あれはしかもそのために武器やら訓練やら。
それも全く同じだよ、ケイちゃん。そんなバカな作戦本当にやるわけないじゃん。最大の目的はあいつらならやりかねない、なんて恐ろしいやつらだっていうプレッシャーと幻想を与えるのが最大の目的だったんだよ。 つまりこれもまたイメージ戦略ってわけ。
They obtained weapons and went through training just so they could exact pressure. They had no intention of actually carrying out the plan. The Sonozaki family was just bluffing. That made sense. Of course it did. It's impossible to attack the Ministry of Construction. Even if they did, it wouldn't solve the problem. All I had to do was use common sense. Even if they did, they would have been crushed within seconds by a huge number of policemen. Why didn't I think of that?
じゃあ武器とか訓練とかってのは？
武器に関してはノーコメントでいいよね。訓練もやったよ。ハッタリになるようちゃんとしっかりね。葛西さんをリーダーにお父さんとこの若い衆たちを引き連れてテキサスの砂漠でトレーナーさんと戦争ごっこをやった後はサンフランシスコでのんびり観光してた。
The sightseeing in San Francisco afterwards is the best part of that sentence.
じゃあ
I couldn't think of anything else. It was obvious now. What about Takano's death? Renner and I both. Were completely fooled by the scrapbooks of Takano-san's delusion. Renner was so serious about it, I believed her. But if you examined it closely, there were so many inconsistencies. I couldn't believe Renner took a delusion like that so seriously. I knew the reason why, though. She was still in a state of shock after being caught with corpses that day. She was mentally unstable. No, it goes back further than that. She just doesn't know it. Then she came across this tall tale, and she believed it. Renner is a smart girl. She wouldn't have taken it seriously if she was stable. Plus, another thing happened to wake me up from the delusion. The white van I saw yesterday came to school during the lunch break. The 4 men in work uniforms I saw were there too. I said thank you to Mion and followed them. The man who talked to me yesterday knocked on the door of the teacher's office.
毎度おこのぎ造園でございますね。
どうもご苦労様です。今日も暑いですね。
いいえいいえ、先生は今日もますますべっぴんで。
ではすみません。今日もよろしくお願いいたします。
はい、よろしくお願いします。これ、うちの事務屋から渡すように言われましたんで。
見積書と請求書ですね。ありがとうございます。日付は空欄ですね。問題ありません。はい、お預かりします。
はい、それでは取り掛かりますんで。
The man was talking to Chi-sensei with a big smile.
ん？どうしたのかね、前原君。
あ、校長先生。今の男の人は誰ですか？
The principal pointed his finger at the window. When I looked out, I heard the noise of an engine starting. The noise was coming from the engine of a motorized lawnmower. I saw young men in work uniforms taking another lawnmower, some brooms, and a ladder out of the van.
園芸業者さんである。だいぶ垣根や樹木が手入れされてなかったからの。夏前に一度剪定を頼もうと思ったのだよ。
ああ、校長先生。この度はお世話になりまして。
The man noticed the principal, took off his hat and bowed.
うん。よろしく頼み申しますぞ。
なんとか今日中で終わらせますんで。しばらくうるさくしますんが、ご容赦を。
Each worker took one of the tools and walked towards the fence where the grass was growing. The engine of the lawnmower was very loud, and the kids who were playing in the schoolyard looked at it curiously.
こらー！危ないですから皆さん教室へ戻りなさい。
It was Chi-sensei. She handed an envelope with the documents in it to the principal. It said Okunogi Gardeners in green on the envelope.
では校長先生。申し訳ありませんが、この請求書を後日市役所に行かれるときに持って行ってください。
うん。心得た。
千恵先生、 あの造園屋さんは昨日も来てました？
ええ、昨日の夕方に一度下見に来てもらいました。帰りに近道をしようとして迷ってしまったと言ってましたっけ。
この村は細い道はだいぶ入り組んでおるからの。無理もないわい。
I remember when I first came here, Chie-sensei started talking about when she got lost, and they laughed together. There was never anything suspicious to begin with. And so now that we've finally solved all the mysteries and nothing was ever suspicious to begin with, ever, I think I will do it for today. I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know any feedback you have in the comments, and until next time, see ya!